You have to be a daring person, but you have to know where the boundaries are. You can't be stupid about it.
Sure.
So maybe I'm daring in my visions and execution of business, and I push the envelope beyond kind of the boring, mundane way of doing business, make it more interesting. But when it comes to Uncle Sugar, no. You don't mess with Uncle Sugar.
Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. All right, before we start this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie, if you are new to the channel and you're just watching it for the first time, thank you for coming in. Thank you for being here. If you've been here before, of course, thank you guys as well. If you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please make sure you do. Hit the notification bell so you know when new shows come out. You get the notification about that. And if you enjoy the show, please share it with your friends, because it is how we get the stagecoach across America. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today, we are in Philadelphia with Yuri Zalzman, who is it sounds to me like you're a bit of an entrepreneur.
Oh, yes.
You'll take it, right?
Homemade, yes.
Exactly. Yuri, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Before we kick things off and start talking to you, I want to thank Nayara Andrejczyk for connecting the two of us together. She was episode 171 of Riding Shotgun, and I came down here to Philadelphia, and I had some plans fall through, and she's like, I know just the person you should have Yuri on the show. So here we are.
Thank you, Nayara.
See, she's pretty awesome. She's a very cool person.
Yes.
All right, tell us about you. You said you're an immigrant, so you weren't originally born here?
Yeah, I'm born in the Ukraine. I left there when I was 6 months old, raised in Israel. Then went to Vienna for 2.5 years, schooling, living there. And then came to the United States, and high school, track, foreign language competition. So I was a nerd and an athlete all at once,
Oh, that is all right.
Yeah.
When you moved here, where did you go to?
Well, I mean, we basically ended up where there was work for my dad, which happened to be Philadelphia.
Gotcha.
He started working at a meatpacking plant called Mrs. Wrestler's Meatpacking Company. And oddly enough, I was driving on this road about a month ago, and I saw one of their trucks. Brought a smile to my face because I came to America at the end of 1981. So it's one of those companies that's still around, staying power.
Cool. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. So how did you become a gun guy? So let's talk about you bought a shooting range?
Yes, I own a shooting range. I took over an existing shooting range which was very run down, had a bad reputation, and was a dead business all in one. So I rehabbed the place, revitalized it for a more modern use, which includes rifles and shotguns. Initially, it was built as a pistol-only facility. Yeah. And, knock on wood, this is the 11th year, and, we're very busy, thankfully.
All right, can we turn here, or do we have to get on the highway?
No, we can turn.
All right, let's turn.
Yeah, so, put my soul into it and put a very unique spin on it, at least in the area.
Nice.
It's more like what people would say, what is a local pub where you go and hang out, Very welcoming, warm, non-judgmental, come one, come all. We have a huge tourist influx. Philadelphia is a tourist destination. People from all over the world show up. We have a map of the world, and people pin all the places that they've come from.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I should send you a picture of it.
That's a great idea. So how did you become a gun guy? Like, what made you want to open up a range?
It's an interesting story. It's like everything else in life. You're going in direction A, and somehow you end up in direction XYZ.
Right.
If you want, you can make a right here. Anyway, so the bullet point is, after high school, I went and worked in heavy industry, high temperature alloys. I didn't really know what I wanted to do in college, so I didn't waste my time or money.
Mm-hmm.
And when I figured it out, I went to Temple University. I majored in, right? It's down the other way.
Yeah.
I majored in history, which was a very rare major at the university. Go ahead.
What do you do with a history major?
You go to law school. That's why.
my son thought he wanted to be a history major, and I'm like, I don't know what you do with a history degree. I said, you could, become a history teacher or professor.
Well, you need a PhD for that,
right?
Which is terrible,
right? Or I mean, if you were taught in public school, you maybe a master's degree. But I'm like, you could be a teacher, you could be a writer, and everyone else said you could be an attorney, and I'm
it's compared to English majors,
mm-hmm.
I, as a history major, had a lot more reading and a lot more writing assignments, and my assignments weren't flowery. My assignments were analytical, cause and effect. History, people think it's a memorization of, random events. It's not.
Right.
It's the study of man. It's you take anthropology, psychology, economics, you mix it all together, and then you get warfare, and you get all these other things that teach you that, there's nothing like linear progression, and nothing happens without something causing it to happen. Cause and effect.
Right.
Consequences. It teaches you analysis. So history is a very complex major if you understand that you're not there to memorize stuff.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And then you apply it. It's a life skill. Did it help me in law school? No, not at all. So that's why they say, well, you've come this far, just go to law school. Law school, I'll tell you, legal education is the best general education you can get if you don't know what you want to do.
Really?
Yes.
Why is this?
Because it makes you a very effective human being. It teaches you how to be very efficient, how to, navigate, let's say, laws, or understand principles of operation of accounting, and such, because they're all derived from statutory language, so it's like a programmer, you show him a game, he says, oh, that's boring, let me see what the programming is like, and he has the ability to look at it and say, wow, these guys did this or that, it's
right.
Yeah, it gives you the ability to look into things deeper. The workload in law school was phenomenal. I mean, as a history major, I had a lot of work, but in law school, you do in 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, the same amount of work that you do your whole semester in undergrad.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a tremendous workload. But guess what? You learn to be efficient, and you learn you learn what your boundaries are and how to push them.
Right.
It's really good. It's a great exercise. It's like 3 years worth of basic training for the brain. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's good stuff. So anyway, so I finished law school right after September 11th, and that was a bad time to finish school.
Right.
So I went and I worked at my father-in-law's garage. It was this dark, clammy garage, and there was a fleet of cabs that he ran out of there. So I did that 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and then opportunity knocked, and I worked for a company where I learned how not to do things. It's also good, right?
Yeah, it is. It's when I teach courses and people do things the wrong way, I'm like, you're doing a great job being a bad example.
Yeah.
So,
at least be good at something.
Right.
But yeah, it is a lot to be said. I mean, a negative example or a positive example teaches equally important lessons, And so, So after that experience, I was invited to build an insurance company from the ground up. Yeah, so I built a livery liability carrier, designed it, invented it, everything. I did that for almost 10 years. And the gun part was incidental, but also as part of my core. I grew up in Israel, and I was around guns a lot, you know, mostly the really cool stuff. My dad would come home with Uzis, or, you know, he brought him a Kalashnikov a couple of times because of his military service. He was border patrol, so they served 40 days a year, every year.
Really?
Yeah. And, you know, so I got to hang out.
Is that everybody? Because I've heard that in Israel, everyone's got to put in 2 years after they get out of high school.
It depends, you know, it varies. You know, boys 3 years, 4 years, girls 2 years, depends on when, what the times are, you know. But it's roughly 2 years and 4 years, roughly, you know.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah, so I'm not only a gun guy, I'm also a machine guy. You know, I started driving stick shift when I was 6, believe it or not.
Oh my gosh.
The cars in Israel were tiny because gas was expensive. So if you look at cars from Europe in the 60s, they're like smaller than the micro cars we have now. Like, I don't know how the whole family would fit in them back then, but I don't think people were as large as they are now, you know, so
that have something to do with
you could fit more people into cars back then. So anyway, so yeah, I drove a car when I was 6. I operated a Caterpillar 950 front loader when I was 7.
Holy moly!
I started shooting at age 7. I have daughters, old daughters, and my twins, who are now 22, started shooting at age 6.
That's cool.
And you know, one of them drives a stick shift. I used to fly airplanes. I love machines. I've driven armored cars. I've operated tanks. On my property, I have a bulldozer that I bought to just, you know, mess around with. It zones me out. You know, people go and they go to meditate, and I get on the machine, and I just, time disappears, and you know, I resolve issues, problems.
That's cool.
Invent stuff, you know, processes or new ways to do things in a much more fun way. You know, I don't believe in. I believe in win-win. So my customers may leave a lot of money at the range, but they never feel as though they were taken advantage of. You know.
Yeah, that's important.
I don't charge by the clock, so to speak. It's a day pass. You buy a day pass, and so long as you're shooting, I'm not going to kick you out. But if, you know, your stuff's lying there and you're walking around town,
right? Yeah. Let's see.
But yeah, and so it removes the element of danger. Because now, if somebody's not under the gun, the clock, you know, they're not going to make mistakes.
Right.
You know, and we're dealing with the public. You know, we're not dealing with trained individual, and sometimes those are more dangerous than the public.
Gosh, sure.
You know, depends on the level of training they got. But you know, the public, you know, you have to be careful. You find them as they walk in, and you know, we have a filtering system that. If you don't look right in the head, we tell you that today may not be the right day for you to shoot.
Right.
You know, it's the big city. You see a lot of things.
Sure.
There are a lot of distressed people in the big city. You know.
So, in Massachusetts, we mostly have sportsmen's clubs. And you have to be a member of the sportsman's club if you want to go shooting.
Yeah.
There's probably a half a dozen, and I'm being generous with that. There might be less, but I think there's about a half a dozen or so ranges that you can go and, you know, rent time.
Sure.
When I come out here, when I come out to Free America, people talk about range fees. I'm like, oh, what's a range fee? They're like, well, you pay $20, you go and, you know, you shoot for an hour. And I'm like, we don't have range fees. You have to be a member of the range, and that's the one place that you go to shoot. Or, you know, if you belong to a couple clubs, that's where you go shooting. So when people tell me about range fees and you can go to a bunch of different ranges, I'm like, that kind of boggles my mind. So so you're gonna have to filter. You have to filter some people out. So, you know, whatever, keep out the riffraff people, or if somebody comes in drunk or stoned or something.
Yeah. That's basically it. You know. So when we deal with the public, it's mostly 2 to 3 of my guys are dealing with the same person, and then if any one of them picks something up, then they'll huddle on it, and they decide to kick the person out,
Right.
and they kick them out. I don't interfere.
Mm.
You know, they're unhindered. You know,
Right.
you know, and I lead by example. I teach by philosophy. I don't boss people around,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, well, I think this way,
All right.
since it says that.
It says no outlet. Yeah, that kind of gives it away.
You know, the business is run like a special forces unit.
Mhm.
Firstly, you don't get hired; you get accepted to work there.
Okay.
Why? Because everybody has to agree that, you know, yeah, this guy fits in, and you know, he's got the mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important when the people that work with you have skin in the game because they care, and also because they get compensated handsomely, and nobody messes with their pay, and they get ammo on the house, and they want to buy stuff, they buy it on cost. I don't make money off of my own people, you know.
Sure.
I train them up to, you can make a right if you like.
Okay.
I train them up to a certain level of competency. You know,
Mhm.
everyone in the place has to have a very high level of competency in drawing a gun
Mhm.
meaningfully. Meaning, God forbid you have to draw the gun, that you can hit the target without hitting anyone else, and you can do so quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So does the gun range offer courses to people, or is it just a range?
It's just a range. It's not a big place, but thankfully, you know, I have like 45,000 people come through there.
Holy moly!
It's 12 lanes. I have a huge berm in there. It's 40 tons of shredded truck tires. Hence, we can shoot whatever we want.
Nice.
And you know, it's a warm, welcoming place. And that's the. You could have the highest tech range in the land, and
Mhm.
if you don't know how to deal with people, how to make them feel welcomed and accepted, then you will not have any business.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Yeah.
For sure.
So it's I always tell my guys, look, this is retail. It's the coolest level of retail in my opinion. You know,
Mhm.
maybe somebody else, women's fashion is coolest retail, but for me, this is. And don't ever forget it. That without customers, you don't make money. You know, if the business doesn't make money, you can't stay running. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's you have to make the customer understand that at the gun range, the rules are different.
Mhm.
You follow our rules, and you're good. If you don't follow our rules after we've told you a few times, then you get kicked out, and that's all there is to it.
Mhm.
The precept of the business, you know, you talk to a capitalist and I say, well, money comes first. No, it doesn't. Money is a consequence of running a proper business,
Mhm.
right? Making
Right.
money, not losing it, obviously. So I always tell the guys, in our business, safety is the first precept.
Sure.
Everything else follows. Why do people come back? Well, it's a warm environment, it's a receptive environment, it's a welcoming, accepting, all those good things. But first and foremost, it's a safe environment,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And so if a customer doesn't feel safe, they're not going to come back.
For
And then
sure.
they'll spread the word that, hey, you know, you shouldn't go there.
Oh my gosh! So first of all, I one of the financial guys that I like to listen to doesn't call. He calls money certificates of appreciation,
Yes, I agree.
and that sounds exactly like what
That's
what you
exactly
got
what
going
it
on,
is.
right?
Yeah.
Ironically, I think it came from Rabbi Daniel Lapin. I
Okay.
don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah.
He's a financial advisor. But yeah, certificates of
Yeah,
appreciation.
sure.
And the other thing is this: when the bad reputation gets out,
Mm-hmm.
there's it's I'm sure it's hard to bring it back in. I know up in New Hampshire, and you said you lived in Manchester for a bit. There's a place called the Manchester Firing Line, and I assume things have changed. But I've heard a couple of people say they've been up there and seen a couple of things that they're a little uncomfortable with, and this was 15 or 20 years ago, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna go up there. I don't know if I want to check them out, because I've heard some things that aren't safe, but I don't want to go up there and patronize them if that's true. But I know
See,
it
the
seems
big
to
thing
change
is
too.
if, right? So you have to be very careful, because there are a lot of people. I've had plenty of customers, well, not plenty, but I've had situations where we had to eject people out of the range because they were very unsafe and not wanting to learn the proper conduct in gun range. So we kicked them out. So now, they go online and they call us racist, and they try to spread rumors. And
Right.
you have to be careful of that, because there are a lot of people that just read the bullet point and assume because somebody wrote it that it's true.
Right.
Thankfully, our customers, saw that and posted the truth, the contrary of what the person was
Sure.
putting forth. So,
Yeah.
it's a very interesting dynamic. I mean, who knows? Maybe there was a period of time when the management in that New Hampshire range was subpar, and maybe they've been replaced, because look, if you're running an unsafe range, then it's only a matter of time, and it's usually not a lot of time before somebody gets hurt
Right.
and you get shut down. So if this was 15 years ago and the place is still running,
Something must be going okay.
maybe it was a fluke, maybe it was bad management, maybe it was something, maybe it was a short period of time of stupidity,
Right.
maybe it was sold and there was a different owner. Who knows?
Yeah.
But this is it's a very unique business, and you have to balance safety, and then you have to balance safety with the fact that you're dealing with human beings. And then Philadelphia has its own codes of conduct, and it's a specialty. It's like the big city folk coming up to New England and not knowing how to conduct themselves for the first few days. They're
Right.
loud and boisterous, and then they figure out that you have to be look more and speak less. Right? Is that the truth?
For sure. For sure.
Don't be understated. Not everybody needs to know that you're in town. Enjoy yourself and shut the F up.
Absolutely.
Right. So
Absolutely.
so we have this specialty. We get a lot of New Yorkers, New Jerseyites. They come right over the river.
Sure.
Yeah, it's we make it fun. We make it fun, personable. Nobody talks down to anyone. It's run like a school, so we don't charge for knowledge. We do have classes, one-on-one, but if somebody needs help sighting in a rifle or a handgun, or they're shooting wrong, we just come out there and we show them how to do it right. And there's no charge. Just do it right. Be safe.
Right.
That's where the giving, the win-win comes in.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know that I have people that come in, they're very hardworking people, and you can tell that the cost of coming to a range is a burden.
Sure.
So I'll just sneak ammo to them, and here on the house, enjoy it. You need it.
Nice.
You need to practice more. You have to. You have to, and it took me a long time to teach people that, to tell them that when the universe gives you have to give back, A, and B, in more stock terms, less altruistic maybe, there's a cost of advertising. Like you go to a restaurant, whatever, with your friends, with your significant other, who cares? You go there, you enjoy the meal. Oh my God, it was so good. You lean back, and suddenly somebody comes out of the kitchen. Maybe it's the chef even, and brings you sherbet on the house. How often does that happen?
Not too long.
So you don't forget.
Right.
So it's good advertising. Why not?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, absolutely.
How much did it cost them? 2 sherbets, 4 scoops, what? $2 each? Not even. Like, there you go. You walked away happy. He did something out of the kindness of his heart. Who
Right.
cares? And
That person's going to remember it. They're going
Yeah,
to
and
tell
everybody's
their
happy.
friends.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so, you have to never forget who you're dealing with and what business are you in. Can't let the customers walk all over you. In my
Right.
business, no. In my business, every person that walks in there, how should I put it? They're not threatened, but they implicitly understand that they better conduct themselves properly. There's a certain swagger that my guys give off, I would say.
Yeah.
And that's the swagger it's well earned by them. These guys are trained to draw a gun, discharge it meaningfully, meaning draw a gun, hit the target in 1 second or less.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty quick.
Yes, that's the standard.
That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah. Because it's speed. Speed is very important. It could be a deterrent. I draw the gun meaningfully. Sometimes you possibly could draw a gun but not have to use it.
Right.
And you have to have enough training to where when you're doing it, you're calm.
Yeah.
That you're not doing stupid shit, Thankfully, in all the years, we never had to do anything like that.
Cool.
We had to pepper spray somebody one time.
Dish.
And we had to beat up somebody one time.
The pepper spray wasn't working, so we had to beat them up.
No, that was a different one. But it's the big city, you have all sorts of people who are, existing in all sorts of different levels of reality.
Right. All right, so what do you have to do to get pepper sprayed at a gun range?
Well, you have to continuously be pointing a gun at one of my guys and telling him that it's not loaded. Well, my guy's telling you, put the gun down, don't point the gun at me or I'll shoot you.
All right, well, that's not unreasonable.
By the way, when you turn around to go home, come here and buy yourself a cheesesteak.
A belly buster.
Yeah,
all right.
It's an unbelievable place. And I don't eat those things,
Right.
But I ate one that was just a mushroom steak, and it was unbelievable.
All right.
Everything was fresh. Belly busters.
Belly busters. Plug for belly busters. All right. I haven't had lunch, so I will. I will come back and check it out. For sure.
It's not far.
Nice. All right. So he's pointing the gun. The guy that got beat up. I assume it's the same. And the guy didn't have pepper spray.
Listen, you can't. When I took over the business, when I built this business, we had a lot of gangs that used to come in. From Camden, because it was so poorly run by the prior owner.
Right.
And
so I read an article about Colasinos, yes.
Colasinos.
And
may rest in peace.
Jose Morales, who I recently interviewed, he sent me an article. I told him I was going to have you on the show. He's like, hey, he took over this place. Sent me an article about it, and it seemed like it wanted to be a good article. It said it was they were closing up. But
was it about my range?
No, it was about
the Colasinos.
Yes, Colasinos. And it said there were a number of straw purchases, and the guy kind of admitted that there were straw purchases.
The article wasn't forthright. You have to understand that. I think we turn left here.
Oh, okay.
Just don't go fast here. This is strict around here.
All right.
He over the many years that he sold firearms.
It said it was open in like the 60s or something, right?
He was before that. He was the sole provider of firearms and equipment to Philadelphia Police Department for 25 years.
Right.
And then he sold over 1 million guns retail over the years. Over 1 million. So, of course, some of the guns he sold were used in crimes. The statistics are just against you,
Right.
And then he had a manager, a woman with whom he had a romantic involvement. He was very wealthy. And then he kind of decided he didn't want her anymore. And he kept her on. He didn't want to fire her.
Right.
He kept her on as the general manager of his store. And, he's the responsible party as far as the law is concerned.
Sure.
So it doesn't matter what people say. The bottom line is he was the responsible party. He surrendered his FFL. But the true background is that the person that did it was a woman scorned.
Hell hath no fury.
There you go. So
take a left, all right. Take a right.
So that's how that story played out.
Gotcha. How long after it closed did you go in and buy it?
It wasn't that long. I don't know, like a year and a half. Well, the range kept running because there was a separate store there was a store and a range, and they were in separate buildings.
Okay.
So he kept the range running, but it was like a zombie range. It was just a terrible place. And then when I took it over, I had the residuals of the people that used to come in.
Yeah.
All gangs from all over the place, and I had to chase them out, and
Pepper spray them.
No, I used to carry a stainless steel Colt 1911 Series 80 Commander.
Nice.
And I always thought that a gun that color is good because it sort of serves as a deterrent unto itself.
Sure, it's a little shiny.
Yeah, it's a little shiny. It's big.
Refracts the light.
So that kind of gun, you can't really appendix carry a gun like that. So I used to carry it, as a sidearm in a holster. I would be very respectful towards them, and I put my hand sort of resting it on the grip of the gun and say, guys, my boss is a real jerk, and he does for the New Jersey crowd. I would say he doesn't permit New Jersey residents here anymore. And they'd be, oh, he's such a jerk. I know, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Imagine working for the guy. So I would do it respectfully, and one time I had a situation where like two of them were trying to outflank me. So I kind of walked back and I said, guys, I think it's time for you to leave. Put my hand on my gun, didn't draw it, but kind of like was ready to, and they saw it. They left. They never came back. And then, the reputation got out, the name got out, and here we are.
That's good. There's a lot of, particularly with the Sportsman's Club, but there's a lot of ranges that are old boys clubs, and they look like an old boys club. They smell like an old boys club.
It's terrible.
And it is, and you can't really have that if you want to cater to more customers and more clients.
They die. These businesses all die out. They all suffer the same fate. There's no. It's a death spiral.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm the oldest man at my shop. I'm 54. The next guy is 53. And if you looked at him, he's like very modern. He's got a goatee and a cool haircut, not like me. And then there's the next guy is 45. He's a retired cop. He was injured on the job. And then you go into your 20s. That's it. Everybody's in it from age 22 to age 27.
Wow.
Because listen, sometimes guys come up to me, young guys, and they say something to me. And look, I speak 4 languages fluently. But I have no clue what this guy is saying to me.
Right.
Like, not a clue. So I pulled one of my guys, I call him Junior. Pull Junior over, he's 22. Bam, 2 seconds, they know exactly what's going on. But I have no clue what the man said to me.
Right.
So why am I going to have guys my age trying to communicate with the biggest cross-section of my clientele and pissing them off? And then, why? Why am I going to do that?
Right.
I'm there to live out my passions, share them with the world, give back to society, as much as I can in my way. For instance, I have, not every Sunday, but every other Sunday or so, every, 3 Sundays a month, we have children that come in. I open the range at 9:30. Usually we start shooting at 11. The kids shoot from 9:30, 9:45. Till 11. There are no adults. I mean, the parents are there, but when I say children, I'm talking like age 7 to 17. And they're regulars. They come.
Oh my gosh, that's cool.
They show up on a Sunday. Can you imagine kids show up on a Sunday at 9:30 in the morning?
Right.
They're all groggy and sleepy, and and they're ready. And they go and shoot, and they're very safe. They listen to instruction. They're mature. More mature than their parents envision.
Right.
Well, as parents, sometimes it's hard to look at your kid and say, well,
right. I've told some people, and I've obviously learned this from someone, that the objective of raising kids is not to have good kids; it's to raise your kids to be good adults.
Yes.
And I always took it as a sort of a compliment if my kids behaved better when they were with other people than they were when they were with me.
Yes.
So that
with you, they should be able to do whatever they want. Unstifled, unhindered.
Right, but when they got to deal with other people, you want them to be respectful.
But don't get me wrong; they got in their boundaries and their rules of conduct. But
of course.
My wife and I never stifled our children, and the other side of that is that they got big mouths, but they're respectful, but they don't hold back, and you know, and that's fine. You know, that's the essence of freedom of speech. Is, you know, yeah, sometimes you got to hear stuff you don't want to hear, but guess what? The opposite is called political correctness, and
Right.
nothing gets done there except, you know, you die miserable. And yeah, I mean, you live miserable.
Right.
Yeah, so it's I feel very privileged. I feel like I'm the luckiest man, at least in Philadelphia, to have this business, to have this opportunity, you know, to be able to give back to the community.
That's great.
There are a lot of indigent people in Philadelphia, and those are the people that need the most help, because they live in the areas that you hear about. You can make a left here; it's kind of a neat area.
Okay.
You know, they live in the areas where there are the shootouts, and a lot of times, you know, I mean, there are a lot of good people living in bad areas. You know, they're almost like hostages of these gangs and the lawlessness that goes on, and the consequences of hamstringing the police departments. And, you know, we had a huge exodus of very experienced, very competent police officers.
Yeah.
Huge exodus. They all just into the counties, and the counties gobbled them up because these guys come out to the county with a tremendous amount of experience.
Oh yeah.
From the Philadelphia streets.
Right, and you assume there's probably less going on.
It's different, you know.
Right.
Like the job. Like I talked to some of them. I trained some of them, and they tell me, yeah, you know, you might end up with just like one assignment for the whole shift, because you're like everything. You're the guy who pulled them over. You did the booking. You did the paperwork. And by the time you know it, your shift is over. You know.
Take a left.
No, don't go left.
Oh, okay. Oh,
the forest is
again?
over there.
Another dead end road.
When in doubt, go right. You know, so, but, you know, then again, you don't have people randomly shooting at you, and, you know, you're not, you know, fighting with somebody who can stab you with a syringe, and, you know, you're not walking into a house where some dude emptied a full magazine into his, that's a parking lot, but it's a really cool boat launch, if you want to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
I got the dash cam.
You know, so what I'm saying is, you know, it's the big city, good things happen and bad things happen all at once, you know? And we see good people trying to, you know, just defend themselves, defend their homes, you know.
Yeah, that's really what it's about, is to protect your family.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, we get a lot of sportsmen, you know, accuracy and all that, but that's, you know, I say a lot. I don't know, like maybe 5% of the people. The rest are like avid shooters, but mostly it's people who they look at me and say, I never thought I'd own a gun, but, you know, now that I own a gun, I want to learn how to use it.
Yeah.
You just pull in here.
All right. So what is this?
So this is the Delaware.
The Delaware River.
Yeah, and across from us in that direction is New Jersey, right?
Gotcha.
And the river is now high.
It looks pretty high,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a cool place. You know, people come and hang out. Nobody gets into fights and stuff. People get along. Philadelphians, for the most part, Philadelphians are very good, very cool people.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun. They're very friendly, very welcoming. But we have bad areas that, well, obviously our politicians don't do anything about.
Shocking.
You know, the police tell me they lock up a prohibited person walking with a gun, and 2 hours later, the dude's waving to them.
Oh my God!
He's back on the street, you know?
Right, he's out, what do you call it? OBL, out by lunch, is what someone else called it.
And it's terrible because, you know, the community cannot fight them.
Right.
Because you can't go and testify against someone knowing that they're going to be back on the street and, like, you'll be dead within 2 days.
Jesus. You
know, like, so it's like the community has its own hand to its own trigger sitting there like that, and our DA, he'll lock you up for defending yourself if you have a concealed carry permit and you're law abiding. But if you're out there shooting up the neighborhood, they'll let you out. You know, within 2 days you're out.
It is so screwy.
Yeah,
it is so screwy.
And you know, these people that have that mindset, they don't understand the law consequences. I don't know what vision they have of humanity, but you know, humanity's doesn't always get it right. You know, like the inner city's filled with very damaged human beings that are innocent, but were born, so to speak, on the wrong side of the tracks. Were neglected as children, or God forbid, abused. Not that neglect is not abuse. And then they grow up very fast. I mean, you know, my 3 daughters, God bless them, they went from diapers to women in no time. You know?
Yeah.
So you have a whole lot of these damaged human beings running around, and it's almost devolved into this, like, if you look at them wrong, you've insulted their honor and they have to kill you. Because a person that has nothing only has their dignity. And when you insult their dignity, they're going to fight to the death for that perception,
Right,
because
that's all
there's
they got.
nothing else that they have in the world. That's it. It's their dignity, and that's it. And you insulted it. You can make a left here if you want to go back to the place.
Yeah. All right.
So that's what's going on.
That's crazy talk. Tell us about the place that you're working on.
So the new place is 230 acres, 36,000 square feet under roof, blast-proof buildings. When it's finalized, it'll have 3 hot ranges, 25 meters, 50 meters, 100 meters. There's a 2,200 square foot retail space. There's a 3,000 square foot gym, a real gym, not where you go to look at each other's spandex, you know. There's an indoor 1,600 foot square simuation range.
Yeah.
An outdoor area that'll be surrounded by 7-foot tall HESCO barriers and bamboo, which we'll also use for training, simulation, and such. Eventually, there'll be a helicopter on top of the taller building, so people can experience what it's like to fast rope and go into action.
Oh my gosh.
Have
that
heavy
sounds
equipment
badass.
so we can dig, we can make berms. There's going to be an obstacle course, like a serious one, with mud and stuff. So we have an acre, about an acre and a half that we can play with outdoors, and then 36,000 square feet on the roof.
Man,
Yeah,
that is intense.
yeah.
How do you dream all that up?
Well, you have to be the mess that I am, I guess. I've always been a dreamer.
Yeah.
And I learned that sometime in my life, I learned that if you dream hard enough and passionately enough, somehow you're able to transition from that dream state into the mundane state, into what we live in. Takes a lot of work. Takes thick skin,
Yeah.
and you can't surrender.
That is cool.
And I'm going to tell you, lots of sleepless nights, lots of them, lots of stress.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like, I think that if you get to pick your stress, you already are lucky. Because if somebody else is imposing stress upon you, well, that kind of sucks, because like they're controlling you.
Right.
Here, at least you get to pick your poison.
Mm.
So it gives you a little bit of a, sense
Right.
of control there.
Sure. Yeah, one of my friends and I, we like to complain about our lives.
Yeah.
And she says, whenever we hear about someone else's problems, we'll gladly take ours.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, look. You have your misery? Yes. Okay. Well, at least you have something. It's yours. Be proud of it. Nobody
Right.
else wants it.
Right.
So you might as well embrace it.
Totally.
Change it if you can. I don't know.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
There's once you go, well, I'll show you. Once we go past that overpass,
Yeah.
if you make a left, those are the prisons. So on the left here.
I
and all
saw
Yeah.
that
They just filmed some kind of a new show here. They had everything closed up.
Wow.
But once you go in the back there's the Philadelphia Police Academy shooting range,
Mhm.
and huge area for there's baseball, soccer, there's fishing, and there's a natural preserve. So you got to see this, because people always think Philadelphia, it's a shit place.
Right.
Of course, we have shit places, but Philly is like this. If we're going to have a shit place, we're going to out shit place everybody else. All right. If you do it properly.
If you're gonna
Don't
be
do it
bad,
half.
be the worst.
Yeah, I mean, be proud of what you are. Like, be the best at what you are. So Philly is a mindset. It's like, and it's still a very, vivendi. It's very alive, very alive. But, not to, again, talk ill or speak ill. You can turn here if you want. Speak ill, not to speak ill of our city government, but I will. Philadelphia is a great place despite the city government.
Right.
They're corrupt. I mean, give anyone too much rope and what?
Gonna hang themselves.
Right. Or as Roger Waters said, give anyone too much rope and they'll fuck it up. And there you go. The same party's been controlling this city for, I think, 60 years now.
Jeez.
60 years. I mean, like, everything is just not right.
Right.
It's just, if you forget the city, forget politics, forget everything, see what I mean? If you're in a relationship, right, and you are the only one dictating terms and calling the shots, there's no dialogue.
Yeah.
Is that a good relationship?
No.
There you go. These guys have so overtaken the city that there is no chance for another party to even like come up on the radar screen. I mean, they're there. They say, yeah, we're like,
right.
Republicans, whatever. It's like, I don't know. It's like a peewee team showing up against an NFL team. Like, yeah, we're here. Oh, good. and that'll last about 5 minutes or less. Look at this. All this was industrial area.
Wow.
And they recaptured. See the piers. This was all piers that, Philadelphia is also called the Arsenal of the Free World because of World War II. We had Frankfurt Arsenal. We had the universities working on all sorts of technology. Machine shops all over the place that could take the blueprints and manifest them into real stuff. And then, cannons and stuff that were built for battleships were actually made in Philly and shipped to Sandy Hook, New Jersey, which is directly across from the estuary from the southern part of Manhattan. And the rigs are still there. They would mount the cannons and test fire them into the Atlantic. This was Philadelphia, I'm telling you.
Wow.
Philly was and so what you're seeing is what used to be industrial wharfs and stuff that were just converted to parks, which is a great use. I mean, look at this. This place has got to be like 40, 50 acres, if not more.
Huge.
Yeah. And then see that fence line far there where the hill is. That's all a nature preserve. You can hike through there. It's not very large, but there used to be an eagle's nest back there, a bald eagle.
Wow.
Yeah. So you couldn't come within like 300 feet of that thing.
That's wild.
And then right beyond that, there is the Philadelphia Police Department's shooting range.
Gotcha. All right. Well, this has been really cool. A lot of education about Philadelphia. A lot of education about everything else too. How can everybody find you and the range, the gun range? And
we're called the Gun Range. On Instagram, we're Philly Gun Range, and we're the only place called the Gun Range in Philadelphia. The only thing we ask of people is that when they come, they bring IDs. They don't have to know anything about shooting. We specialize in non-shooters that shoot for the first time. That's it. Just come and have fun, and don't be a jerk, or we're going to kick you out.
We could pepper spray you or kick your ass.
Or both. Why not? Depends on the day.
Right.
If it's before or after lunch,
Right. If we're hungry, we'll kick your ass.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yuri, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate this. Hang tight for a second. Thank you guys for watching the show. We're going to put links to the gun range, to Yuri's gun range, so please check those out in the YouTube description. If you are not a member of the Second Amendment Foundation, you can join them at saf.org. You can find all of your favorite pro-freedom podcasts at sdrn.us, and if you've made it this far, you should certainly be sharing the show with your friends. This is how we get the stagecoach across America. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.